Hey all, Hipper here. So I'm just going to run a full rudder build on Wichita here to show you guys. It's not something I do normally because I don't use Kincaid on this cruiser anymore. I use Beepley, but we'll get into that later. First, it's Kincaid, and we have Takao, and we have Baltimore on as inspirations. All the usual perks, and fully packed, of course. So here we have 1.3 second rudder and only 38 knots. That's, yeah. And that's why I usually go with Beepley on this ship here, actually. So I'll just show you the difference here. On Beepley I have a Sure Lane Baltimore, but then I have Müller for speed. And I prefer a bit of extra speed on this ship here because the rudder is already fine. And I don't have the last rudder perk either. I choose the private zone instead. To get the direct, like the thing that shows the direction of the nearest enemy. And I still have 1.9 second rudder, which is fine, and 40 knots. So this is the build I usually go with. But for this video here, I'm doing Kincaid with a full rudder build. So of course I'm not a guy who like voluntarily gives up rudder shift. At least I didn't used to be. But lately we've gotten a Sure Lane Baltimore, we also got Takao as inspirations, and now we also have Soundwave as another rudder inspiration. Of course you can only have 2 on at a time, but it means that most tier 7 cruisers can now reach 2 seconds or 1.9, around 2 seconds, and that really is the sweet spot when it comes to rudder. Anything more and you will have to like pretty much get down to 1 second, then maybe it'll be worth it. But if you can reach or hit 2 second rudder, it's better to add some more speed on your cruiser instead of more rudder. That's what I have found by playing with these commanders for a while now. And that's why I run Beepley on Wichita, because like you saw, it gives me 1.9 second rudder, 40 knots of speed, and it also gives me the indicator that makes it really easy to find that last pesky destroyer on a map. So definitely Beepley, a premium commander. She is very, very, very good for Wichita. And an extra perk is that if you don't like or want to run a agile build on Wichita, Beepley allows you to run a stealth build if you want to do that instead. And her special perk, which I showed before, cuts the concealment on your cruiser. And if you get Beepley to 16.4, which I haven't yet, I think you'll be able to just stealth radar in Wichita, which is of course going to be pretty crazy. But it does require that you you get Beepley to 16.4, which is very expensive in resources because she is a premium commander, so you need to use universal commendations to promote her. I don't use any stealth radar builds, so for me there's no point getting her to 16.4. I have her 16.3 and that's fine. Getting her to 16.4 doesn't give me any more rudder or speed or any of the things that I need. It gives me a little bit extra concealment, which I really don't think is worth popping 15 universal commendations more into Beepley here. So anyway, we are running Kincaid on Wichita here, and like you saw, we have a 1.3 second rudder, which is pretty crazy for a cruiser. It's only 0.1 of a second slower than Suzuya, which is the fastest rudder cruiser at tier 7 now, at 1.2 seconds. I think Mogami is the same. But after that is Wichita at 1.3. And like I said, yes, the rudder is faster and you turn faster, but Wichita has such a small turning radius that really 1.9 second rudder, which Beepley gives you, is more than adequate. It's fine. You don't need to go any lower than that. Because like I said, once you reach 2 seconds, 1.9 seconds, something around that area, it's better to add some extra speed on your cruiser instead of more rudder. that might change in the future. That's how things are looking right now. We could get a dedicated cruiser rudder commander, for example, that lowers the cruiser rudder by 10%, for example. That means that you could probably get most tier 7 cruisers down to 1 second rudder. And that's obviously a huge difference between 2 seconds and 1 second. So I may change my mind then if that happens. I don't know if that happens because it seems that just lately we've been flooded in rudder inspirations. So all of a sudden we got Azure Lane Baltimore, and then a few months later we got Takao, and now, like I said before, we got Soundwave as well. So there's a fair few to choose from now, and they all have some of them have a mixed perk. So like Takao and Soundwave, they both have 3% improved rudder, but then one of them has improved AA, and the other one has improved torp detection. So I like that. That means you can tailor your ships to what you think they should excel at, and still keep your fast rudder. So I'm not a person who goes all in on rudder all the time. 2 seconds, like I said, it is the sweet spot. That's where you get the most bang for your buck, basically. And you don't hit diminishing returns on a rudder on a tier 7 cruiser, at least the ones with a turning radius below 800 meters, until you reach 2 seconds rudder. It's not 4 seconds, it's not 5 seconds, it's not 3 seconds, it's 2 seconds. When you hit 2 seconds, that's when you can start to think, okay, maybe I should use my other inspiration for something else, or something like that. Of course, usually you can't, because that'll bring your rudder back up. So personally, I'm really happy that we finally got these extra inspirations, especially Azure Lane Baltimore, but also Takao, because from my personal perspective, it has made me play a lot of cruisers that I didn't usually play at all because they weren't agile enough. But for example, like Hipper, down from, I can't remember, 3 seconds or whatever it was, down to 2.1, making it an absolutely deadly killing machine. And Edinburgh as well, also completely transformed. Exeter has also really benefited from it, and I love it. So if Wargaming one day releases a new commander that, for example, has a base perk that only works for cruisers, because right now all the rudder inspirations, they work for any kind of ship. So there's still no specific commander that only works for cruisers. And when those commanders come out, they usually have a higher percentage. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw at some point a commander that could lower the cruiser rudder by 10%, for example. But right now, I'm just happy that most tier 7 cruisers are now able to reach the same level of agility as Wichita did. Because about a year ago, Wichita was the king of agile cruisers, with 1.9 second rudder, the same that I have now. And really, that's about as low as you have to go. So I'm just getting the worst dispersion here dealing with this ZF6. It's just painful. Pretty much only every second of my shells seem to hit, or my salvos, and yeah, this is super annoying. And one of the reasons I go with Beepley here on this Wichita under normal circumstances is the extra speed it gives me, because I can just reach 40 knots in Wichita then, and that'll allow me to chase down most destroyers. Of course not Russians and French, but other than that, as soon as their speed boost runs out, I'll be able to chase them down and kill them. And that in combination with Wichita's direction arrow that shows you the location of the nearest enemy, that makes Wichita really deadly for destroyers. So that's why I use it primarily. So I'm going to get ready to turn out now, and I can tell that I'm targeted by 3 ships. So that's why I'm prepared for this salvo here from the Nelson. And then I'm just going to take him out, because suddenly he's down to no health at all. And I had such a tough time setting this guy on fire in the beginning of the battle. Like, I think I shot at that Nelson exclusively for the first 2 minutes of the battle, and I didn't get a single fire until the last salvo, and I had to turn off. And I mean, yeah, that happens sometimes, I guess. So now we just have a lonely Colorado left here, all by itself, out all the way on the flank. And the only backup he has is a carrier. So this is like a perfect opportunity to do some farming. And there he is. He's in the perfect range as well. So, and keeping in mind this is a tier 6 battleship. And like the shell speed on these things is a lot slower than the tier 7 battleships, or at least it seems that way. I cannot prove it. I don't have any access to any data. But if you look at that there, it's not very hard to avoid. And that's why when you face tier 6 battleships in the tier 7 cruiser, you're gonna have a pretty good time, because they're just so inferior. Or the tier 7 cruisers have just been buffed so much that the tier 6 battleships just don't stand a chance. And that's certainly the case with the tier 6 cruisers. The difference between a tier 6 cruiser and a tier 7 cruiser is massive, huge. But the difference between a tier 5 cruiser and a tier 6 cruiser is almost non-existent. So if you wanted to put Kincaid on Wichita like this here, I would probably put Soundwave on as an inspiration instead of Takao, so you get a little bit extra warning on torpedoes, because the AA is already pretty good on Wichita, so you don't really need to boost that anymore. And I hope we get more commanders like that, where they have, like I said before, a kind of a split personality, I guess, where like the base trait is split in 2, and one is in this case Rudder, and the other is some other sort of improvement, because it'll allow especially agile cruisers to be tailored to first of all the ship, and also the play style of the commander, I guess. So not the craziest battle in Wichita here, but fairly good. But like I said, I go with Beepley on this cruiser here, along with Baltimore and pretty much any US cruiser, except for Alaska. I use Azure Lane Baltimore on Alaska, because of the the lower AP views that she gives you. So anyway, that was Wichita with 1.3 seconds rudder, which was like a dream only a year ago. But yeah, it's attainable now, and although it's not the best build, I think it's still fun. So that was it. So I'll see you out there, guys.